Okay, so to all the men in my comment section saying that they don't ask women out anymore because they think they're going to be labeled as creepy or they're going to go straight to jail. I mean, that's okay. Let's not, first of all, generalize entire group of people. No one should ever do that about any group of people. Number one. Number two, if you're totally happy, like, not being with a woman again, that's like totally fine. Like, go live in your peace. But if you're someone that does want to be with a woman, it does need to be talked about. Clearly, there are a lot of men that feel like women have been like mean to them, or like they think they're gonna like go to jail if they ask them out.
What if I told you that the very system women spent 50 years demanding, the one they swore would finally set them free, has quietly become the cage that locks them in forever? And the keys to that cage were just thrown away by the same men they spent decades telling to disappear. What if the future that was sold to them as empowerment is actually a slow motion collapse? And the men they pushed out of their lives are now the only thing standing between them and total ruin, yet those men have found peace in walking away and have zero intention of ever coming back. Stay with me until the very last word, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how this collapse is accelerating, why almost no woman sees it coming, and why, when the full weight finally hits in the next few years, there will be no one left to save them. If you want more raw, no filter, angry guy breakdowns like this, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear the truth. Hit subscribe, and most importantly, click the bell and select all so you never miss a single upload the second it drops. We are building the largest awake male audience on this platform, and I need you in the fight with me. Also, if you're serious about protecting everything you've worked for in this collapsing economy, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. The link is in the description. I teach you step by step how to actually own your assets, how to move them safely, how to trade without getting wrecked, and how to build wealth while the fiat system burns. Thousands of men are already in there shielding themselves. Click that link and join us today. And if these videos are hitting hard and you want to keep the Red Bull flowing so I can keep cranking these out for you every week, there's a Buy Me a Red Bull link down below. Everything keeps the fire content coming your way. I appreciate every single one of you that throws a can in the cart. Now let's get into it. Times are hard, real hard. Food prices are through the roof. Rent is criminal. Wages haven't kept pace in decades. And millions of regular people are one surprise expense away from disaster. And right in the middle of all this chaos, something fascinating is happening. Women are flooding social media with tearful videos, angry rants, and desperate pleas. They're saying they can't survive anymore. They're saying men have stopped approaching, stopped dating, stopped pursuing altogether. They're literally begging men to come back. After decades of being told men were the problem, after decades of hearing that men were unnecessary, toxic, disposable, suddenly the message has flipped, and now they're shouting from the rooftops that life without men is unbearable. And the wildest part, the men they spent years pushing away listened. They heard every word, they took it to heart, they walked, and they are not coming back. Something catastrophic is quietly happening to women in the Western world, and almost none of them can see it. They are being systematically shut out of reality itself by the very society they demanded be rebuilt in their image. The future they were promised, independence, empowerment, having it all, is evaporating in real time. Their chances at building a stable family, at enjoying good mental and physical health, at experiencing genuine happiness, at having real choices instead of illusions sold as choices, all of it is slipping through their fingers faster than most people can even realize. Privacy, gone. Security, vanishing. Autonomy, a marketing slogan at this point. And the speed at which this is happening is breathtaking. For half a century, women told men loudly and repeatedly that they were not needed. They used every movement, every hashtag, every viral campaign they could create to shame men, punish men simply for existing, and push men to the margins of society. They remade education, the workplace, the legal system, the culture itself, proudly declaring that the future was female. And society let them do it. Any other group announcing supremacy that openly would have been condemned immediately. But because the narrative was wrapped in the language of safety and inclusion, it was allowed to grow unchecked. Authoritarian ideas were packaged as compassion. Marxist wealth transfer schemes were sold as justice, and the men who warned that this path led to ruin were shouted down, canceled, fired, or jailed. Now the consequences are arriving, not in trickles, but in waves. And the biggest consequence of all is simple. Men were always the primary protectors of women. That protection wasn't just physical, it was financial, emotional, societal, even political. Men stood between women and the harshness of nature, between women and the cold machinery of the state, between women and the predatory behavior of corporations, and yes, even between women and other women. History shows again and again that if you want to collapse a civilization, you break its men. If you want to break the men, you weaponize the women against them. And if you want to break the women, you simply step back and let them finish the job on themselves. Here's a hard black pill truth most people still refuse to say out loud. Women, on average, are less honest than men in interpersonal matters because they are more present focused and far less willing to accept accountability. They often experience consequences as something happening to them rather than something caused by them. The longer a person or a group avoids accountability, the larger the eventual reckoning becomes. Women, as a group, have been shielded from consequences for 2 generations now. Every bad decision, every societal experiment, every shift of blame onto men was cheered on or excused. The bill is now coming due, and it's the size of Everest. Look at what feminism actually delivered versus what it promised. Before second wave feminism, the average woman did not have to work outside the home if she didn't want to. And after feminism, the average woman has no choice but to work, and in most cases, work full time for her entire adult life just to survive. Inflation and wage suppression made sure that one income could no longer support a family, so both men and women were forced into the labor market. Corporations cheered because they suddenly had double the workers competing for the same jobs, which meant they could pay everyone less while extracting more productivity. The government cheered because they could now tax women directly instead of indirectly through their husbands. And women were told this was liberation. Women were told to delay marriage and children until their education and career were established. They were told their fertile years were the perfect time to chase experiences, travel, sleep around, build the girl boss empire. Science now shows us that every additional intimate partner a woman has before marriage dramatically reduces her ability to pair bond long term because of how oxytocin works differently in female neurochemistry. The sexual revolution that was sold as freedom actually eroded women's ability to form the stable, happy marriages they claim to want. Divorce rates exploded, marriage rates collapsed, birth rates fell off a cliff. And still, the messaging stayed the same. Keep going, you're empowered, you're stunning, you're brave. Women communicate primarily through emotion rather than logic. This isn't an insult, it's observable reality. The danger comes when an entire society begins treating emotional reasoning as equal to or superior to factual reasoning. When feelings become the highest truth, delusion follows quickly. Conflict becomes the norm because drama feels validating. And the people most hurt by unchecked emotional reasoning are usually women themselves. Because left to their own devices, female social dynamics trend toward envy, status competition, and relational aggression. Men historically provided the grounding influence, the voice of reason, the willingness to say the uncomfortable truth. But society spent decades training men to never challenge a woman's feelings, to always validate, to always defer. The result? The delusions grew unchecked until reality itself began to crack. And men noticed. They noticed every double standard, every lie, every manipulation. And instead of arguing anymore, they started doing something far more powerful: ruthless compliance. South Korea gives us the clearest laboratory example of this in action. Korean feminists spent years claiming men were harassing women by approaching them in public. So men collectively said, fine, we'll fix that. They supported laws so strict that a man can legally be charged with harassment after being rejected more than 3 times by the same woman. Sounds protective on paper, right? Except the actual effect was to make approaching women legally dangerous for men. So men stopped approaching completely. Now, a Korean man can walk up to a woman one time, ask if she wants to get married, and have children immediately because he can't risk a second or third approach. And if she hesitates even for a second, he moves on forever. The result? Women suddenly face extreme artificial scarcity of male attention. Birth rates in South Korea are now the lowest in recorded human history, not because women don't want children, but because men control access to commitment and have chosen peace over chaos. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. The same pattern repeated in the workplace. Feminists claimed men were gatekeeping career opportunities. Men shrugged and said, you're right, we'll stop that too. No more mentoring women. No more recommending women for promotion. No more inviting women to the informal golf games and whiskey nights where real business relationships are built. Doors didn't just close, they were welded shut from the inside. Women suddenly discovered that the sisterhood they were promised doesn't actually help them climb the corporate ladders when the final decision makers are still mostly men who now view helping women as a professional and legal risk. Media provided another perfect example. Feminists spent years saying romantic comedies and dramas objectified women and contained harassing humor. Men, who never watched those shows anyway, said, cool, let's fix it. They supported cleaning up all the flirtation, banter, and sexual tension. The shows became sterile, boring, and unwatchable. Viewership tanked, and because men were never the core audience in the first place, the only people hurt were the women who relied on those programs for emotional escapism. This strategy is now spreading globally. In the United States, Canada, the UK, Australia, Japan, China, men are simply applying the same principle. If women say they don't feel safe around men, then the safest thing is to remove men completely. No more dates, no more buying drinks at bars, no more splitting the check and calling it equality. Men just stop showing up entirely. Nightclubs that used to overflow with cash because men bought rounds for women are now ghost towns filled with groups of women waiting for free drinks that never arrive. High-end restaurants that survived on date night traffic sit empty. Coffee shops that relied on men taking women out for $3 lattes and 2-hour conversations now stare at rows of single women on laptops, wondering why no one talks to them anymore. Men are building their own parallel systems, home gyms, private invite-only training facilities, barter networks, skill-sharing groups that operate completely outside the fiat economy. Decentralized trades where a plumber fixes a mechanic's truck in exchange for help on a roofing job, and no woman is ever involved in the transaction. If a woman needs an electrician in one of these networks, she either has to find a male relative or friend to negotiate for her, pay double or triple the male rate, or go without power. Men are no longer in the business of subsidizing female lifestyles. They view women the way corporations view competitors. Extract maximum value, give minimum in return, and never expose yourself to unnecessary risk. Nature designed men for survival and women for replication. Men have superior spatial awareness, risk assessment, and long-term planning. Women have stronger present moment emotional awareness and nurturing instincts. When you remove men from the equation, women lose the very traits that kept them safe from their own blind spots. Accident rates for women are already higher in everyday tasks. cutting vegetables, tripping on stairs, bumping into objects because men aren't there to scan the environment the way we naturally do. Now multiply that across every area of life, financial planning, physical security, long-term provisioning, and you start to see the scale of the problem. And the state is stepping into the vacuum with open arms. Prostitution is illegal except when it's taxed and tracked, then it's suddenly empowering. OnlyFans is promoted on campus as a valid side hustle, while the average creator makes less than $150 a month after fees, and the top 1% hoard a third of all revenue. Yet universities invite top creators to give keynote speeches. The message is clear. Regulated sex work is the future, and the state gets its cut. Once a woman's content is online, it never disappears. Her tax records will forever show adult industry income. Future employers, landlords, even future potential husbands will see it. She has permanently limited her options for a few $100s today because she couldn't see past next week's rent. Student debt is another trap sold as empowerment. Women now hold 2/3 of all student loan debt in America, despite being half the population. They were told a degree was the ticket to independence. Instead, they got six-figure debt, entry-level jobs that don't pay enough to service it, and the slow realization that the gender pay gap they were taught to rage about doesn't actually exist when you compare equal work. But blaming men felt better than admitting the system lied to them, so they kept blaming men. And men kept walking further away. Every right women fought for only has value if men are willing to recognize and honor it. The right to education means nothing when you're drowning in debt. The right to work means nothing when you're competing against men who no longer pull punches. The right to speak freely means nothing when no one is listening anymore. And men have stopped listening, they've stopped believing, they've stopped caring. They have made peace with being called toxic, with being called unnecessary, with being told the world is better off without them. And in that peace, they found something women weren't expecting. Happiness without women is possible. Solitude is not the same as loneliness once you remove the social programming. By 2030, demographers project that 45% of women aged 25 and 44 will be single and childless. When you add single mothers chasing men who want nothing to do with another man's kids, the number of women without stable male partnership climbs towards 70%. At the exact same moment, AI and automation will eliminate millions of administrative, HR, marketing, and customer service jobs, the same jobs women were funneled into for 2 generations. The state that promised to take care of them is broke. The men they rejected are thriving in cash only, off grid, parallel economies, and the harsh truth no one on mainstream platforms will say out loud is this: women are about to discover that freedom without protection is just exposure. The tears you're seeing on TikTok right now, those videos where women in their late 20s and 30s are sobbing into ring lights, mascara running, voice cracking, asking, "Where have all the good men gone?" Those aren't random. They're not isolated incidents. They're the first wave of a tsunami that's been building for 50 years, and it's about to crash over an entire generation of women who genuinely believed the marketing slogans were real life. Let me paint the picture for you so clearly that you can feel the cold sweat on the back of your own neck, even if you're a man who already checked out years ago. Imagine being 35 years old, a master's degree hanging on the wall that cost you $180,000 in loans you'll never pay off on your $58,000 a year marketing coordinator salary. You live in a 400 square foot apartment that eats 48% of your take home pay. Your credit cards are maxed from self care trips to Tulum and Dubai that you posted on Instagram to prove you were living your best life. You have 9,400 followers, but only 2 real friends. And both of them are also single, also in debt, and also secretly terrified. You haven't been on a real date in 18 months because the last guy who asked you out, you ghosted after he suggested splitting the bill on the first date. You told all your girlfriends he was giving low value energy. Now your phone is silent. Your eggs are aging faster than the avocado toast you photograph every weekend. And every night you scroll past videos of married couples your age pushing strollers, and you feel a literal pain in your chest that you refuse to name out loud because that would mean admitting you were wrong. That pain has a name. It's regret, and it's about to become the most common female emotion on planet Earth. That woman is not an outlier. She is the new normal, and she is legion. Because here's what nobody told her when she was 21 and riding the carousel like it was a human right. Every year she spent finding herself was a year. She was a year she spent burning through the only currency that actually matters in the sexual marketplace, her youth and fertility. Men don't care about your passport stamps. Men don't care about your corporate title. Men don't care that you can quote Beyonce lyrics while doing a wine drunk yoga flow. Men care about two things when selecting a long term mate: fertility signals and pleasant personality. Everything else is noise, and both of those things have a brutally short expiration date. While she was busy collecting experiences, men were quietly collecting options. They watched their fathers get destroyed in divorce court. They watched their older brothers lose half their wealth and access to their children because she wasn't happy anymore. They watched their friends get Me Too'd out of careers because a woman felt uncomfortable one time in 2017. They read the statistics. 80% of divorces initiated by women, 90% of custody going to women, lifetime alimony in some states, false accusations used as weapons, paternity fraud rates as high as 30% in some urban areas. And after watching all of that, millions of men looked at the roulette table of modern marriage and said, hard pass. So they walked. They didn't argue. They didn't protest. They didn't start political movements or cry in comment sections. They just left the game entirely. They took their ball and went home. And home is now a paid off condo with a home gym in the second bedroom, a chest freezer full of grass fed beef they bought direct from a rancher, a cryptocurrency cold wallets, and a group chat of 20 other men who meet every Saturday morning to train jujitsu, smoke cigars, and trade skills without a single woman allowed in the building. That's the new male utopia. An entry is invitation only. Meanwhile, back in the old economy, the one women still think exists, everything is collapsing exactly as predicted. Dating apps are wastelands. Hinge prompts now read like hostage videos. I'm really good at cooking and cleaning. I promise I'm not like the other girls. Please just give me a chance. Bumble's stock price has fallen 90% from its high because men stopped paying for premium features when they realized the women weren't actually meeting anyone anyway. Nightclubs in major cities are boarding up windows because the ratio went from 70/30th men to women to 30/70th, and the remaining men refuse to buy $22 cocktails for women who won't even give them a real name. Las Vegas reported its worst year-over-year revenue drop in history outside of the lockdown year because bachelor parties still happen, but bachelorette parties are now funded by payment plans on Klarna, and the girls split appetizers 4 ways and drink tap water with lemon so they can afford the Uber home. The restaurant industry is in free fall. Places that used to have 6-month waiting lists for Saturday night now have open tables at 8 p.m. because there are no more couples. It's just tables of 6 women in bodycon dresses taking 300 photos for Instagram and then leaving after the charcuterie board because we're doing low carb this month. Servers are quitting in droves because tips went from $300 a night to $60. Entire chains are closing locations in blue cities. The ripple effect is devastating. Commercial real estate in downtown areas is collapsing. Property taxes are cratering. City budgets are imploding, and the politicians are frantically searching for someone to blame while quietly raising sales tax again. And still, the message from the culture is men need to step up. Step up to what exactly? Step up and pay for dates with women who post thirst traps for other men on Instagram the same day. Step up and marry women who have a higher body count higher than a Vietnam War memorial. Step up and sign a marriage contract where she gets the house, the kids, and half my pension if she decides one day that she's not feeling it anymore. Step up and risk my entire future because she read an article about toxic masculinity and decided I looked at her wrong in the grocery store. Nah, we're good. Men are discovering something women never thought possible. Life without women is not just bearable, it's actually peaceful. For the first time in their lives, men are experiencing disposable income that doesn't disappear into a woman's lifestyle. They're experiencing free time that doesn't get eaten up by 3 hour emotional processing conversations about where this is going. They're experiencing sleep that isn't interrupted by dramatic 2 a.m. texts accusing them of not caring enough. They're experiencing friendships with other men that are based on loyalty and shared missions instead of competition for female attention. And the craziest part, their testosterone levels are going up, their bank accounts are going up, their happiness metrics are going up, their suicide rates are going down for the first time in decades. Men who 10 years ago were depressed, overweight, in debt, and simping for women who treated them like ATMs are now jacked, debt free, traveling the world on their own terms, and sleeping like babies every night. But women are discovering the opposite. Clinical depression rates among young women have tripled since 2010. Anxiety disorders are through the roof. Antidepressant prescriptions for women under 40 are at all-time highs. Plastic surgery rates keep climbing even as satisfaction rates plummet. Eating disorders are exploding, and every single metric of female happiness, life satisfaction, sense of purpose, reported sense of safety, all of it is in free fall the more rights and freedom they get, because freedom without structure is just chaos. And women were never designed to live in chaos. They were designed to live inside the structure provided by good men. Remove the men, and the structure collapses. It's that simple. The black pill isn't that women are evil. The black pill is that women are children in adult bodies when left without male authority and guidance. They will always choose the path that feels good right now over the path that is good long term. They will always choose validation over truth. They will always choose the crowd over the wilderness. And the crowd is currently leading them straight off a cliff while telling them they're flying. Men see this now, and instead of jumping after them like we did for thousands of years, we're standing at the edge watching. Some of us with sadness, some with anger, most with total indifference because we finally understand. You cannot negotiate with female nature. You can only choose whether to participate in it or not. And millions of men have chosen not. We are not hiding. We are not lost. We are not figuring ourselves out. We are not waiting for the right woman to come along and fix us. We are simply done. Done chasing, done simping, done providing, done protecting, done sacrificing, done caring. We are building our own tables, and there are no seats for women at them. The most devastating part for women isn't even the loneliness yet, although that's coming. The most devastating part is the slow creeping realization that everything they were told was a lie, that the strong, independent woman was always a marketing campaign to get them into the tax base, that the sexual revolution was always a wealth transfer mechanism from men to corporations via female consumerism, that the girl boss narrative was always a trap to get them competing with men for jobs while losing the only real power they ever had, the power to inspire men to build civilizations for them. Every empire in history was built by men for the approval of women. Remove the approval, and the empire stops being maintained. We are watching that happen in real time. Roads aren't getting fixed. Power grids are failing. Supply chains are fragile. Birth rates are collapsing. Military recruitment is in crisis. And still, the culture screams at men to do better while simultaneously telling us we're the problem. So we stop doing anything at all for society. And society is now discovering what happens when men go on strike. Women are discovering what happens when the human buffer between them and reality disappears. And the state is discovering what happens when the productive class checks out completely. Because here's the part nobody wants to say out loud: the state doesn't actually want empowered women. The state wants dependent women. Dependent women vote for more government. Dependent women don't resist surveillance. Dependent women don't question authority. Dependent women are the perfect citizens in a socialist system: emotional, fearful, short sighted, and convinced that safety is more important than freedom. That's why the state pushed feminism so hard: not to free women, to enslave them more completely than any patriarchy ever did. And now that men have removed themselves as the alternative power structure, women have exactly one option left: total submission to the state. Digital IDs are coming, social credit systems are coming, carbon tracking is coming, online speech laws are coming, and women, because they always prioritize safety over liberty, will be the first to comply. They will turn in their neighbors for wrongthink. They will accept the implants. They will celebrate the restrictions because if it saves just one child, they will become the most loyal enforcers of the new order, because the alternative is facing the world without male protection. And that terrifies them more than tyranny ever could. Men, we're going underground. We're going parallel. We're going dark, crypto, barter, private networks, physical fitness skills, community with other men. We are becoming impossible to track, impossible to tax, impossible to control, and we are doing it quietly, calmly, and without apology. Women will wake up one day in 2030 or 2032 and realize the state isn't their husband. The state isn't going to pay their rent when the UBI runs out. The state isn't going to hold them when they cry. The state isn't going to protect them when the power goes out for 3 weeks and the supply chains finally collapse. And on that day, they will look around for the men they spent their youth mocking, and those men will be gone. Not dead, not hiding, just gone. Living in compounds in the mountains, sailing boats in international waters, working remote from countries that still value freedom, trading gold and skills and laughter and brotherhood and networks women will never even know exist. And the silence will be deafening. That is the future women built. That is the future men are refusing to subsidize any longer. And that is the future no amount of crying on TikTok is going to change. The silence is already starting, and it's louder than any screaming match ever was. You can hear it in the empty bars on Friday nights, in the dating apps where the venture capital money can't save anymore, in the churches that used to be packed with young families and now echo with the voices of gray-haired widows in the obstetric wards that are closing entire floors because there aren't enough babies being born to justify keeping the lights on. The silence is the sound of millions of men simply refusing to speak the old lines anymore. No more, "Hey, you look nice today." No more, "Can I buy you a drink?" No more, "I'd love to take you to dinner." No more, "Here's half my paycheck and my entire future. Please don't destroy me." Just silence. Beautiful, weaponized, unbreakable silence. And women are losing their minds because of it. They were told their entire lives that male attention was oppression, that catcalls were violence, that being approached was harassment, that a man looking at them too long was cause for public shaming. So men stopped looking, stopped approaching, stopped speaking unless spoken to, and even then only in short, legally safe sentences. Women got exactly what they demanded: a world where men treat them like any other stranger on the street. And now they're discovering that being treated like any other stranger on the street feels exactly like being invisible. Invisible in the grocery store when the tall guy doesn't reach the top shelf for her anymore. Invisible at the gym when no one offers to spot her or warn her that her form is going to snap her spine. Invisible at work when the older guys stop mentoring her and start mentoring the sharp 23-year-old dude who doesn't have a TikTok full of thirst traps. Invisible on Friday night when her phone doesn't buzz with a single text from a man who wants to spend time with her. Invisible when the power goes out and there's no husband or boyfriend or even male neighbor who feels any obligation to come check on her. That invisibility is death by 1,000 cuts, and it's only just beginning. because the next phase is already rolling out, and it's even colder than silence. It's active exclusion. Men are not just walking away from women, men are building walls, tall ones, thick ones, walls with no doors that women can open by themselves. Private land purchases in rural counties where the only way in is an invitation from a current member. Encrypted group chats with two-factor hardware keys. Gyms that require referrals and ban phones at the door. Barbershops that don't take online bookings and won't cut women's hair even if they beg. Fishing cabins, hunting lodges, off-grid homesteads, overland truck convoys, crypto meetups, jujitsu academies, cigar lounges, all male, all private, all growing by the month. These aren't fringe compounds. These are normal guys, engineers, plumbers, nurses, entrepreneurs, veterans, teachers who realized that the cost of admission to female chaos was their peace, their money, and their future, and they chose peace. Women are starting to feel these walls go up and the panic is setting in. That's why you're seeing the sudden flood of I'll cook and clean. I don't want your money. I just want a good man videos. That's why the trad wife trend exploded out of nowhere. That's why young women who spent 2021 calling men trash are now posting videos in sundresses, baking banana bread, and talking about submission. They can smell the smoke. They can see the exits closing. They're trying to negotiate surrender terms after the war is already over and they lost. But surrender requires someone willing to accept it, and men are no longer accepting surrenders because we finally understand the game now. We understand that I've changed coming from a 34-year-old woman with a body count higher than her credit score and student debt higher than her salary isn't change. It's damage control. It's a survival instinct kicking in when the consequences finally get close enough to touch. It's the same survival instinct that made her ghost the good guy at 26 because he was boring and ride the carousel until the music stopped. That instinct doesn't get to rewrite history just because the party is over. Men are done being the cavalry that rides in after women have spent 15 years making every possible mistake and then decide at 35 that they're suddenly ready to settle. There is no settling down, and there is settling. One is a choice, the other is a consolation prize. And men are no longer willing to be anyone's consolation prize. The math is brutal, and it's public now. A woman who has had more than a handful of partners before marriage has a divorce risk that climbs exponentially with each additional notch. A woman who waits until her 30s to have children faces fertility cliffs that no amount of Instagram manifesting can climb. A woman with six figures in student debt and no assets has negative net worth for a decade or more. A woman who spent her 20s building a social media brand instead of a family has no leverage when the algorithm changes tomorrow. And a woman who spent years telling men exactly how little she needed them now has to live in the world she created. That world is here. And it's colder than anyone warned her it would be because the state that promised to replace men is broke. The pensions are underfunded. The social safety nets are fraying. The UBI trials are ending. The inflation isn't transitory anymore. The housing market isn't coming back down. The jobs AI is eliminating first are the ones women were funneled into for 2 generations: administrative, human resources, marketing, education, government make work. Millions of women are about to discover that their bachelor's degree in communications and their lived experience don't qualify them to rewire a breaker box or weld a pipeline or code the smart contract layer that the new economy runs on. And the men who can do those things, they're already gone. They're in the parallel systems. They're the ones buying land with stable coins, growing their own food, generating their own power, and trading goods and services outside the reach of the taxman and the HR department. They're the ones who don't need the state because they replaced it with brotherhood. They're the ones who don't need women because they replaced them with purpose. Women are about to learn the difference between equality and interchangeability. They demanded equality. They got it. Now they're discovering that when men treat women exactly the same as they treat other men, women lose every advantage they ever had. Because biology is not egalitarian. Nature is not fair, and reality doesn't care about your feelings. Men can sleep in the woods with a tarp and a knife and be fine. Women cannot. Men can eat rice and beef for a year and get stronger. Women cannot. Men can lift heavy things all day and build muscle. Women cannot. Men can disconnect from the grid and thrive. Women cannot. Men can go years without emotional validation and be at peace, where women cannot. Men were built for scarcity. Women were built for abundance provided by men. Remove the providers of abundance, and women are left staring at scarcity for the first time in 50 years. And scarcity is a harsh teacher. That's why the birth rate collapse isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. Japan, Korea, Italy, Spain, Canada, the United States, every developed nation is watching its fertility rate plummet below replacement and keep going. Because women waited too long, priced themselves out of the market, and the men who could have been fathers looked at the deal being offered and said, no, thank you. Every year that passes makes the deal worse for women and better for men. Time is the only asset that men gain and women lose with every birthday after 25. And men are using that time ruthlessly now. Like, we are watching women age out in real time. We are watching the wall approach like a freight train, and women pretending they don't hear the whistle. We are watching them dye their hair, inject their faces, stuff their bodies with silicone and fillers, trying to buy 5 more years of attractiveness while the debt piles higher and the eggs disappear. And we are not impressed. We are not moved. We are not coming back. Because peace is worth more than pussy. Freedom is worth more than female approval. Brotherhood is worth more than female drama. A quiet evening with a good book and a glass of whiskey is worth more than a screaming match over nothing at 1 a.m. A bank account with 6 figures that stays 6 figures is worth more than a woman who spends 7 figures over a lifetime and calls it love. Men have done the math, and the math says walk. So we walked. And we keep walking. And every day, another 1,000 men wake up and join the Exodus. Every day, another gym goes male only. Another piece of land gets bought by a group of guys who will never let a woman set foot on it. Another Discord server adds another 1,000 members who share plumbing tips and crypto alpha and workout programs and legal templates for staying off the radar. Another boat leaves the marina with 6 men on board and 0 women, headed for international waters where no family court has jurisdiction. The Exodus is quiet. It's calm. It's disciplined. It's unstoppable. And women feel it like a slow chill they can't explain. That's why the videos are getting more desperate. That's why the "Where Are All the Good Men" genre has gone from occasional to daily. That's why articles are being written with titles like "The End of Sex" and "Why Young Men Are Giving Up on Dating." They still frame it as a crisis for women, but the men in the comment sections aren't angry anymore. They're laughing, they're calm, they're relieved because we already made it to the other side. We found the exit and we took it, and the wall isn't coming. The wall is already here, and most women are still taking selfies in front of it, smiling like it's a backdrop instead of a prison. Let me take you inside a scene that is repeating itself in every major Western city right now. And if you're a man who's already awake, you've either lived it or watched it happen to a brother. Friday night, 9:30 p.m., upscale rooftop bar in Miami, Austin, Nashville, doesn't matter. The place used to be shoulder to shoulder with men in tailored shirts buying $600 bottles to impress tables full of women in tight dresses. Tonight, there are 12 women for every one man, and the one man is a gay influencer taking photos for his grid. The women are dressed to the nines, heels so high they can barely walk, contour sharper than a razor, hair extensions down to their waist, every single one of them holding the same espresso martini for the photo and then setting it down untouched because calories. They keep checking their phones, refreshing Instagram, pretending they're texting someone important. They're not. They're waiting for the men who used to show up with black cards and private tables and the promise of, you girls having fun tonight. Those men are 200 miles away at a private ranch, shooting guns, smoking brisket, and splitting a $40 handle of bourbon they bought at Costco, laughing about how much money they're saving by never stepping foot in another club again. The bartender, a woman in her late 20s who used to clear $1,200 a night in tips, just got told her shift is cut to Thursdays only because the owner can't afford the liquor inventory anymore. The DJ is playing to an empty dance floor. The bottle girls are standing around scrolling TikTok, watching videos of other women crying about being lonely. The manager is on the phone with the landlord begging for a rent reduction because revenue is down 72% year over year. And the women at table 6 are splitting one bottle of Veuve they put on Clarina for pay while arguing over who gets to post the photo first so they can tag the bar and maybe get a free drink next time. There won't be a next time. The bar will be closed by Labor Day. That scene is the new normal, and it's spreading faster than anyone in corporate media is willing to report because the money is gone. The male disposable income that used to lubricate the entire nightlife economy has been redirected. It's going into land, crypto, gym equipment, firearms, tools, skills, and male only experiences. Men are buying side by sides and toy haulers and converting school buses into mobile houses so they can drive to private land where no woman can follow unless another man vouches for her, and no man is vouching anymore. Men are pooling resources to buy 200-acre parcels in Idaho, Montana, Texas, Missouri, places where the county sheriff still believes in the Constitution and the only internet is Starlink. They're putting in wells, solar arrays, greenhouses, gun ranges, and shops with welders and CNC machines. They're building compounds that look like something out of a prepper fantasy, except they're not prepping for the apocalypse. They're already living in the future women haven't realized has arrived. Women still think collapse looks like Mad Max. Men know collapse looks like peace, quiet, and compound interest. That's the part that drives women insane when they finally glimpse it. Men aren't suffering. Men are thriving. Men are calmer, richer, stronger, happier, and more connected to other men than any generation in living memory. Male suicide rates in the cohorts that have gone full MGTOW/monk mode/ghost protocol are plummeting. Testosterone levels are spiking from heavy lifting, sun exposure, and zero female drama. Bank accounts are growing because the money that used to disappear into $300 sushi dates and $800 concert tickets now sits in cold storage or gets turned into more land, more tools, livestock, and skills. Men are aging like fine whiskey while women are aging like milk left on the counter. And women can feel it. They feel it every time they open Hinge, and the only men still active are divorced dads looking for a nanny with benefits or crypto scammers from Nigeria. They feel it every time they walk past a construction site and not a single hard hat even glances up anymore. They feel it every time they post a thirst trap and the likes drop 60% because the algorithm knows men aren't paying attention anymore. They feel it every time they complain about being lonely, and the responses in the comments are either other women saying same girl or men posting the shrug emoji. The shrug emoji is the new male battle cry because we finally understand something women will never grasp. Attention is the only real currency women have in the sexual marketplace, and men just performed the largest coordinated bank run in human history. We pulled our attention out of the female attention economy overnight, and the entire system is in cardiac arrest. Dating apps are laying off staff. OnlyFans is quietly preparing bankruptcy filings for thousands of creators who borrowed against future earnings that never came. Instagram is panicking because male engagement is collapsing and advertisers only pay for male eyeballs. Wedding industry revenue is down 40% in real terms. Divorce attorneys are pivoting to crypto cases because women aren't getting married anymore, so there's no one to divorce. Therapists who specialized in couples counseling are closing practices because there are no more couples. The female economy is a house of cards built on male attention, male labor, male protection, and male money, and men just turned off the spigot. Cold. And the best part, there's no way to force men to turn it back on. You can't shame a man who no longer cares about female approval. You can't tax a man who earns in crypto and spends in barter. You can't jail a man who never interacts with the system in the first place. You can't guilt a man who has zero emotional investment in your feelings. You can't cancel a man who has no social media and no employer to complain to. You can't regulate a man who lives on 20 acres behind a locked gate with 10 of his brothers who all carry rifles and know how to use them. Women are discovering that all the power they thought they had was borrowed. It was on loan from men who could revoke it at any time. And we revoked it completely, irrevocably, permanently. That's why the coping is getting louder and more desperate. That's why articles are now being written with titles like The Rise of the Lonely Single Men, trying to flip the script and make it sound like men are the ones suffering. They're not. The data doesn't lie. Men's happiness has been climbing steadily for 8 years straight, while women's has been in free fall. The loneliness epidemic they keep talking about is almost exclusively female. Men are lonelier only if you define loneliness as not having a woman in my life. If you define loneliness as not having peace, purpose, brotherhood, and disposable income, men are the least lonely generation alive. I say women are about to learn the difference between being alone and being lonely the hard way because the state is preparing the next phase. And it's dystopian as hell. They're rolling out the digital cage under the banner of protecting women and children. Online safety acts, COSA, age verification laws, CBDCs, vaccine passports repurposed into movement passports, carbon allowance apps, all of it sold as keeping women safe from the big bad men who ghosted them. And women, because they always choose safety over freedom, will cheer it on. They will hand over every remaining scrap of privacy and autonomy because the alternative is admitting they need men and men aren't coming back. So they'll choose the cage and call it security. Men won't. Men are going ghost. We're learning languages of countries that still respect sovereignty. We're buying passports from places that don't extradite. We're moving assets into bare instruments the state can't see. We're teaching each other how to weld, how to butcher, how to encrypt, how to disappear. We're forming tribes again, real tribes, not the fake corporate approved rainbow kind. Tribes with loyalty tests and shared risk and mutual defense pacts. We're becoming the barbarians at the gate that the empire forgot to keep an eye on because it was too busy policing pronouns. And when the grid goes dark and the grocery store shelves stay empty for a month and the ATMs stop working and the women who spent their youth calling men trash suddenly remember that men are really do control the infrastructure, it will be too late. And there will be no white knights riding in to save the day. There will only be silence and a locked gate and a sign that reads, no soliciting, no exceptions. Women spent 50 years telling men they weren't needed. Men listened. Now women are about to find out what a world without men actually looks like. And it won't be the empowered paradise they were promised. It will be cold, expensive, dangerous, and lonely. And the men who could have prevented it will be 2 mountain ranges away, drinking home brewed mead around a fire with their brothers, laughing about the good old days when they used to care. The fire will be warm, the mead will be strong, and the women won't be invited, and not now, not ever. The reckoning isn't going to arrive with sirens and burning cities. It's going to arrive one quiet Tuesday morning when a 37-year-old woman wakes up in her overpriced studio apartment, checks her bank account, sees $43, 12.37 after rent, auto debited, opens the fridge and realizes she's out of oat milk, opens Tinder and sees 0 new likes for the ninth straight day, scrolls Instagram and watches another influencer she used to party with announce a pregnancy, then stares at the ceiling while the air conditioner clicks off because the electric rates just went up another 38% and she can't afford to keep it under 78 degrees anymore. That's when it hits. Not with a scream, with a whisper that says, I played myself. And that whisper is about to become the soundtrack for an entire generation. Because the next 10 years, we are going to watch a level of female regret that historians will study for centuries. It will dwarf the fall of Rome in terms of raw human suffering, because Rome at least had the excuse of lead pipes and barbarian hordes. We have TikTok and feminism. We have women who were told they could deserve everything while being given nothing but debt, delusions, and a smartphone full of strangers who don't care if they live or die. Picture 2032. 45 to 50% of women aged 25 to 44 are single and childless. And another 15 to 20% are single mothers with children from men who want nothing to do with them. That's 65 to 70% of an entire female generation with no husband, no family structure, no male protector, and no realistic path to getting one. Their jobs, the ones AI hasn't eaten yet, pay half what a tradable skill pays and come with no benefits because the companies know that they have no leverage. Their apartments are now controlled by BlackRock algo landlords who raise rent every lease cycle because market conditions. Their student loans are in default but can't be discharged, so the government just quietly garnishes whatever pittance they still earn. Their bodies are breaking down from hormonal birth control, seed oil diets, and chronic stress. Their eggs are gone or so depleted that IVF is the only option, and it costs $90,000 a round with a 12% success rate for women over 38. Their social circles have shrunk to 2 or 3 other cat owners who hate each other but pretend not to for brunch photos. Their parents are aging and need care, but the women have no savings and no brother willing to help because he went no contact after she called him a misogynist on Facebook in 2019. And the state that promised to be their husband is now rationing electricity, tracking carbon footprints, and sending voluntary compliance letters about unauthorized opinions expressed on private group chats. That woman will open her phone and search how to meet a good man in 2032. And every result will be an article written by another woman telling her to love herself more or try dating abroad, as if men in Colombia or Thailand want a broke, entitled, aging Western woman with blue hair and pronouns in bio. She will watch old YouTube clips of Fresh and Fit or whatever, or Rolo Tomasi, or this very channel, and finally understand every word, but the same words she used to call incel nonsense when she was 26 and riding the carousel. She will cry the kind of cry that comes from the marrow because for the first time in her life, there is no one to call, no simp to text, hey, at 2 a.m., no daddy to bail her out, no government program that actually pays enough to live, and no man on planet Earth who owes her a single thing. That moment of clarity is coming for millions of them. And there will be no comfort when it arrives because men will not be there to wipe the tears. We will be on the other side of the wall we built, living the lives women told us we were too toxic to deserve. We will be 50 pounds heavier in muscle, not fat, with calloused hands, full heads of hair from low stress and high testosterone, bank accounts that grow while we sleep, passports from 3 different countries, and a tribe of brothers who would die for us without hesitation. We will be sailing, flying, hunting, building, trading, laughing, and living in a world that women can see from a distance but can never enter without a male sponsor, and no male is sponsoring anymore. We will watch the collapse from lawn chairs with a beer in hand, the way previous generations watched the fall of the Berlin Wall, except this wall is invisible in one way. Women will bang on it, scream at it, try to shame us, try to legislate us, try to tax us, try to guilt us, and none of it will matter because we simply do not care. We have zero emotional investment in female outcomes anymore. Zero. We are not angry. We are not bitter. We are not waiting for an apology. We are not holding space for healing. We are not coming back to fix what women broke. We are free. And freedom feels like waking up at 5 a.m. because you want to, not because an alarm is screaming at you. Freedom feels like cooking ribeyes on a grill you built yourself while 20 other men tell war stories and no one is live streaming it for clout. Freedom feels like going to bed at 9 p.m. with a book and waking up at dawn to train without a single dramatic text message ruining the day. Freedom feels like looking at your crypto wallet and realizing you could buy your mom a house cash tomorrow if you wanted to, but you don't have to because you already took care of her years ago with the money you didn't spend on women. Freedom feels like silence, where female chaos used to be. That silence is the most expensive real estate on earth right now, and men own it all. Women are about to inherit the wind. They spent their youth trading irreplaceable fertility for replaceable validation. They spent their beauty on men who would never commit. They spent their money on rent, ride shares, cocktails, and cosmetic procedures. They spent their peace on drama, gossip, and social media wars. They spent their future on the present, and now the future is here collecting the bill with interest. And men, we spent our youth lifting, learning, stacking, connecting, and walking. We spent our beauty on becoming dangerous in useful ways. We spent our money on assets, not attention. We spent our peace protecting it with extreme prejudice. We spent our future building a new one that doesn't include women unless they bring value equal to the risk. And almost none of them do. That's the new standard. Bring value or bring nothing. And bringing love isn't value when it comes with chaos, debt, and a legal system waiting to detonate your life. Bringing support isn't value when it comes with criticism, control, and contempt disguised as boundaries. Bringing beauty isn't value when it's filtered, financed, and expires in 10 years, while the debt lasts 30. The price of entry to the new male world in 2030 and beyond is going to be so high that only a unicorn could pay it, and unicorns were hunted to extinction around 2023. Women who are 16 today are already watching this unfold and choosing differently. They're deleting Instagram at 14, learning to cook at 15, wearing ankle-length dresses and learning game from their fathers and brothers instead of TikTok. They're being hidden, protected, and trained by men who saw the future and built lifeboats. Those girls will be fine. The rest are going to learn what consequences actually means. And when that learning happens, there will be no male tears to drink. There will be no male shoulders to cry on. There will be no male wallets to open. There will be no male arms to run to. There will only be the state, other women, and the mirror. And the mirror never lies. It's going to show a woman who was told she could have it all and believed it. It's going to show a woman who was told men were the problem and discovered too late that men were the solution. It's going to show a woman who spent her life chasing feelings and ended up with nothing but the echo of her own voice in an empty apartment. That echo is going to be deafening. And the men who could have silenced it with love, provision, and protection will be nowhere to be found, because all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. We walked, we are still walking, and we are never, ever walking back. The final stage is already in motion, and it's the coldest part of all. It's not rage turning into indifference, indifference turning into amusement, amusement turning into total disconnection. You can see it in the comment sections right now. Like a woman posts a tearful video. I'm 33. I have my master's. I make six figures. I go to therapy. I have a good person. Why won't men commit? 5 years ago, that comment section would have been 2,000 white knights falling over themselves to tell her she's a queen, and the men are intimidated by her success. Today, the top comments are okay, cool story, should have thought about that at 30, and 100 laughing emojis. The thirst is gone. The sympathy is gone. The willingness to even pretend to care is gone. Men have moved past anger. Anger requires emotional investment, and we have zero left to give. We are watching the ship sink in slow motion and eating popcorn on the lifeboats we built years ago. Every day, another blue check feminist from 2014 posts a Substack titled, I used to be a girl boss, now I just want to be a wife. And the male response is unanimous. No. Every day, another influencer who spent 2024 bragging about her whole phase announces she's ready to settle down. And the male response is a collective shrug. Every day, another article drops warning about the crisis of a male loneliness, written by a woman who still doesn't understand that men fixed our loneliness by removing women from our lives. The coping mechanisms are running out. Phase one was denial. I don't need a man. I have my girls and my wine. Phase two was anger. Men are trash. Men are scared of strong women. Phase three was bargaining. I'll submit. I'll cook. I'll wear the dress. Just give me a chance. Phase four was depression. The crying videos, the SSRIs, the wine turning into vodka at 3 p.m. Phase five is acceptance. And that's the one that's going to break them completely, because acceptance means admitting they were wrong about everything. And female nature cannot tolerate being wrong. So most of them will never reach phase five. They'll stay stuck in phase four until the body gives out or the credit cards stop working, whichever comes first. And men will keep watching from the other side of the glass like it's a nature documentary. Look, the herd is thinning. Look, that one still thinks the passport bros want her. Look, that one just took out a $40K loan for an egg freezing package. Look, that one is dating a felon because he's the only guy who still approaches in public. It's not cruelty, it's observation. We warned them. For 20 straight years, we warned them. Books, blogs, podcasts, videos, forums, tweets, smoke signals, skywriting. We warned them. We showed the statistics. We showed the divorce rates. We showed the happiness graphs. We showed the fertility windows. We showed the body count studies. We showed the outcomes for children of single mothers. We showed everything. And they called us losers. They called us virgins. They called us bitter, and they called us misogynists. They called us incels. They called us small dick energy. They laughed, they mocked, they strutted, and they partied. They posted. They thrived on our attention while giving us contempt in return. So we left. And now the laughter has moved to the other side of the glass because the punchline wrote itself. The women who said, I don't need no man, are about to meet the reality of not having one. The women who said, my eggs are fine, I'm focusing on my career, are about to meet 39 and a 7% IVF success rate. The women who said real men aren't threatened by my success are about to meet men who aren't threatened because they're 2 states away and don't even know she exists. The women who said, I can do everything a man can do, are about to meet a flat tire on the side of the highway at midnight with no AAA because they couldn't afford the renewal. The women who said marriage is just a piece of paper are about to meet child support calculations that don't care about her feelings. The women who said I'm the table are about to meet an empty kitchen with no one to cook for. We are not going to rescue them. We are not going to fix it. We are not going to lower our standards. We are not going to accept damaged goods at full price. We are not going to trade our peace for their regret. We are going to keep building, keep lifting, keep stacking, keep connecting, keep walking. Every day the wall gets higher. Every day the parallel systems get stronger. Every day the gap between the male future and the female collapse gets wider. And one day soon, a critical mass of women will finally understand that the having it all was always a lie. You don't get to spend your youth on the carousel and then demand a husband at the finish line. You don't get to treat men like disposable utilities and then cry when the utilities get turned off. You don't get to weaponize the state against men and then beg men to protect you from the state. You don't get to break every rule of nature and then demand nature make an exception for you because you're different. Nature doesn't negotiate. Reality doesn't care. And men are done paying the bill. That. So when the lights go out and the grocery stores are empty and the phones stop working and the last helicopter leaves the roof, the women who spent their lives telling men to man up will finally understand what actual accountability feels like. And the men who spent their lives being told they were worthless will be on the other side of the mountain, warm by a fire, bellies full, brothers at their side, laughing at jokes women will never hear, living lives women will never touch. That day is closer than any of them think. And when it arrives, there will be no more warnings, no more explanations, no more second chances, just the sound of boots walking away forever. What did you think about all of this? Do you agree? Do you see it playing out in your city, your friend group, your family? Drop a comment below and let me know exactly what you're witnessing. Because the more of us who speak the truth out loud, the faster the rest of the men wake up and join the walk. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.